Hello there. I want to make a little sort of tutorial video about what I want you guys to do for your surface area and volume video. So you're going to need the following things. You're going to need an object to measure. For me, I'm going to use a brownie box. Then you're also going to need a ruler so you can measure it. You're going to need a sheet of paper so you can crunch numbers and draw some stuff on it. You're going to need a marker, something to write with. And finally, you are going to need a calculator. You're going to have some fractions or some decimals. I don't want to have you take up a lot of time crunching those fractions or decimals. You can use a calculator, make life easier. I'm not here to see if you can do that. I want to see if you can find the volume and surface area of stuff. And so what you'll need to do, I have it all spelled out for you right here. 1, you'll need to draw a 3D model of whatever your object is. 2, you will need to measure it. There's a little asterisk right there, and that is about is okay. So, this is the real world. Things aren't always going to be precisely 4 inches. It might be 4 1/8, 4 1/16. But that could be really tricky to deal with. So if you want to round it to be like, hey, this is actually about 4 inches, it's about 4 1/4, about 4 1/2. That's up to you. I'll leave that to your discretion. So you can do about measurements if you will. Then, after you've measured it, I want you to draw the 2D shape, the net of what the 3D object looks like in 2D. Finally, you'll use that to calculate surface area and then calculate the volume. So those are the instructions. If you think you've got a good grasp on it, you can pause and stop watching this video right now and you can work on making your own. Right now, I'm going to walk through this process so you can kind of see what it looks like. So, as I said, our first step is to draw a 3D representation, a model of what this looks like. So my brownie box is a rectangular prism that looks roughly like that. All right, now what I need to do is measure it so I can put some numbers there. So again, it's okay to say about something. So right here, I'm going to call that about 5 1/2. That looks about right to me. So 5.5 inches. All right. The height, I'm going to call that about 7 1/2. It might not be exactly 7 1/2, but close enough. So 7.5 inches. And finally, how wide it is that way. That's about 1 1/2 inches. So that dimension is 1.5 inches. Awesome. So going back to the checklist, I have drawn my 3D model. I've measured. Now I need to think about what this looks like in 2D, in 2 dimensions. And so what I'm seeing are 3 different rectangles. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to have my big one 5.5 by 7.5. But then I'm also going to have this guy attached to it. And so if you could imagine opening up this, so kind of unfolding it so it would go like that, and then unfolding it so it goes like that, I'm going to have a smaller rectangle right here that's 1.5 by 7.5. And then on the other side is the next big rectangle. So another 5.5 by 7.5, followed by the other little skinny one right here. So let's see here, the other skinny one would be this side right there. And so again, that's 1.5 by 7.5. Now I have to consider the top and the bottom. Well, I will put the top right here. And so that is 5.5 by 1.5. And the bottom, not necessarily drawn to scale, will be right down there, 1.5 by 5.5 as well. Now I have drawn my 3D net. The next step is to calculate the surface area. And surface area is simply the area of all of these together. This is where the calculator comes in handy. Okay, so let's start crunching some numbers. 7.5 times 5.5 is 41.25. I'm going to circle that. I'm then going to go 5.5 times 1.5 to get this rectangle right here, 8.25. And then I'm going to find this little skinny one right here, 7.5 times 1.5. and that one is 11.25. And this is all in inches squared. Now, I'm only doing this for half of them because they all have buddies. So in order to find the surface area, what I'm going to do is add them all together, but before I add them together, I'm going to times each one by 2. So 41.25 times 2 plus 8.5 times 2, sneak in a little 2 right there, plus 2 times 11.25. And so now I'll crunch all those numbers. So let's just start from scratch here. 2 times 41.25 plus 2 times 8.25 plus 2 times 11.25. And that gives me 121.5 inches squared. And that is the surface area of this shape. So if I had to cover this shape completely without overlapping anything, I need 121.5 square inches. And that is the square, so that's the surface area. Final step, calculate the volume. So volume is equal to length times width times height. Again, use the calculator, make life easy for us right now. 5.5 times 1.5 times 7.5. Crunch those numbers. 5.5 times 1.5 times 7.5. And we have 61.875 inches cubed, because volume is cubed. So that's roughly what I'm looking for. You find an object, you draw a 3D model of it, you then measure it so we can put some numbers, convert it to 2D, find the surface area, find the volume. For the objects, it has to be a rectangular prism, so like a brownie cake or brownie mix, a cake mix, those work out great. A board game box could work great. Anything that's just a rectangular prism you can use. If you have any questions, let me know. Good luck.